Greetings, I'm Tommy the Keyblade Master and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do an editorial on something that a character called Kirborpher had done on his channel, something on his sub versus dub. I saw it because it popped up on my homepage because someone I'm subscribed to recommended it. So I sat down and watched it, and it did get me thinking about a few things I saw, a few blog entries I saw on toonzone.net several years ago. I'll try to post a link to that below. But basically, that blog entry is what I was thinking of, plus a few other run-ins I've had with some of the really big otakus. And he's kind of right about it. You do have a group. Thankfully, it is shrinking within the anime community, but this group nonetheless is kind of harmful to it. Ironically, because this group is probably the most obsessed fans of the genre. Let me put it this way. If you're a music fan and you see a whole bunch of people who are fans of this group, and you say the best way to support the artistic license and what their songs mean is to steal and pirate their music, chances are that said fan group is probably going to beat the crap out of you. You're stealing from the people they support. Yet among anime fans, when it comes to dubs and localizations, seem to think that it's okay to bootleg. Not all anime fans, and like I said, shrinking numbers, but there is still that very hardcore group that thinks, fan subs and pirated bootlegs are somehow the way to have the artistic expression of the original Japanese. They also complain the fact that, Adult Swim has dubbed anime. And it's kind of like if you guys had got your wish, America wouldn't have an anime industry. Very few people would watch subs on TV. I would not stop doing what I'm doing to watch a sub show. Unless you own an expensive TiVo device, you can't rewind it if you miss a subtitle, and it really is just easier to sit down and relax to a show when it's in your own language. Now, I do get why people were frustrated a long time ago about this. I grew up in the 80s, and we were force-fed a whole bunch of Japanese shows that were Americanized. Little Bits, Woozle, Grimm's Fairy Tales, which Nickelodeon had, which was this Japanese anime that had all these short Grimm fairy tale stories. It's pretty good. I kind of wish they had released that on DVD. Disney owns it, and they kind of do their own thing with those fairy tales that are quite popular, so I don't see Disney releasing that series on DVD. But anyways, my point is, we didn't know it was anime. You can also throw in, of course, Voltron and Robotech into that group. And back then, translation was Americanizing it and not localizing it. And by Americanizing it, I mean they tried to strip all aspects of Japan out of the anime. Your characters were given English names, your places were changed, blood and gore were of course edited because most of these were going to TV. I'll forgive that part of it. But basically anything that had to do with Japan cut out completely, and it was tried to be presented as another American cartoon show. Sometimes these could get laughably bad, and it wasn't just anime too. Video games also fell for it. I mean, just look at the original box art of games like Mega Man and Castlevania or Phantasy Star, and then compare them to their Japanese roots, and you can see the box arts are a lot different from each other. Thankfully, that has changed over the years. While we still do see different box art for the American release and the Japanese release, it does seem to be done by the same group of artists and have the Japanese feel to it whenever you get a Japanese game nowadays. The reason why it's changed is if you look at some of the Japanese artwork for like the Mega Man games, it's kind of just all over the place, while the American versions are a lot more toned down. Not a bad thing. But anyways, back then, like I said, it was Americanized and sometimes laughably bad. You look at Voltron and what they did, all the characters' names were changed. people who died didn't, and some of the excuses and cuts they did to make this happen were kind of hilarious if you see them now and know what's going on. So I can understand, why there's some rage. But if these weeaboos, as even the anime folks like to call, had their way, the anime industry wouldn't exist in America. Because no one would stop to watch these shows subbed first. Most people get into anime through a dub. Most of these people who are complaining about these dubs being made, I'm sure, got into anime because of a dubbed anime. Because something was localized that they could get closer to. And then as they enjoyed it more and more and more, they moved up to being these major snobbish otakus who everything must be subbed. Thankfully, most anime nowadays is done localized and not Americanized. By that, I mean they take the show, and yes, they do have to remove portions of it because we wouldn't be able to get the cultural references, especially if that cultural references might be humorous. I mean, I don't think I would expect a Japanese person to exactly get an American political joke. Okay? Same thing for over here. There's just different elements of the culture that just doesn't translate well into America. And that's what localization does. They have to figure out what elements doesn't and what they can replace with them that is similar that an American can get. That's not meaning they're insulting the original artist's attempt. They're just trying to make it so us Americans can understand said artist because it's in a foreign language. So like I said, I do get a little upset when I see these people like, it's an insult that this was dubbed. No, it's not. And some of these people will go on tangents. One of my favorite is the Inuyasha character Kagome, I guess is how you pronounce it in Japanese. The English dub pronounce it as Kagome. To me, not a big deal. Anime is still enjoyable. But I've seen threads posted about ranting how they screwed up her name. That's like, no big deal. It's like Ryu and Ryu. One's more Americanized, one's more Japanese. Don't take it as an insult, guys. It doesn't destroy the show. And if you really want to take a look at it, those subtitles they complain about, I've also gone through the same people who wrote the script for the dub. They also have to be localized. There are several words in the Japanese language that there is no English alternative for. You get things like senpai, which can be translated to be boss, chief, or big brother. It's basically someone who has more experience at whatever job you're doing. But we in America would never use a word like that. Same thing with Chan and Sama. Chan being something you would describe as a young girl. Can be translated into miss or kid depending on how you use it if you need to put a English word there. Sama can be boss. It can even be something you refer to as a god, I do believe. So again, that word's hard to translate. And sometimes even in the subtitles, I notice that they will either completely take out that word and put in an English word equivalent to it for that situation in the subtitles, or in some cases they will just leave these small things in the subtitle, depending on what company does it. So to automatically say the sub is the more pure form is BS. If you really want that much purity, you better find some sort of class that teaches Japanese, because that's the only way you can really enjoy the stuff 100%. I'm not going to do that. I don't see a need in my job or career to speak Japanese. Spanish, maybe, but not Japanese. And while we're on the nature of fan subs, you really going to take the word of a person who is posting something illegal on the internet over someone who's actually a paid linguist to do the subs? Like I said, I don't quite understand about the otaku community. Anyways, on to another thing I saw from the same person, too, about Dragon Ball Z Kai. If you don't know what Dragon Ball Z Kai is, it's doing what a lot of these new anime reboots are doing, trying to get closer to the classic manga. But rather than reanimating and completely redoing the show, they're taking some of the old video, cleaning it up, repainting it, and then redubbing it new. If you're into the subs and you go out and collect the Blu-ray to listen to the subs, what this means is the Japanese sub track, since it's newer, sounds really good. That's one of the things I liked about the Kai Blu-rays. I listen to the dub more, but I do occasionally listen to the subs. There's nothing wrong with the subs. I'm more talking about how people will bash the dubs and bash the companies that will actually bring the anime over here for doing a few changes. Anyways, yeah, sub Dragon Ball Z Kai sounds pretty good, but it is the dub that impressed me. For once, you get all the special moves in their original language, and it sheds what was left of the original Saban dub, which Funimation kind of kept some of the things that Saban did not to confuse people when they started dubbing. So once again, you get Frieza in the Saban dub and later the original Funny dub, being this really high-pitched, older woman-sounding voice. They fixed that. He now sounds like a very well, not masculine, I would say, but very cold, masculine voice, and it fits the character a lot better with him. You'll also get rid of a few of the other cheesy sounding moves and things they do. It's much better. But what I like about Kai is something that the otakus complained about the Saban cut that I actually liked about the cut. Now, I didn't like the they sent them to another dimension BS that the Saban cut of Dragon Ball Z did. But I did like the fact that the Saban cut was shorter. The original uncut Dragon Ball Z that I heard all these otakus complain about and how much better the uncut version was put me to sleep when I bought it on DVD and watched it. I don't want to spend 25 minutes of my life watching an episode of Gohan just cry to a stupid machine that's trapped in this cave. It's BS. And Saban was wise cutting it out. Get the Saiyans to Earth faster and get to the fighting. And that's what Kai does. In fact, Kai is cut even leaner than the Saban cut. In the uncut, I don't think the Saiyans arrive until around the late 20s in episode count. In the Saban cut, I think it was late teens. In Dragon Ball Z Kai, they're on Earth causing trouble around episode 8. And the really great part about it is once they start fighting, that's all you're going to see. The show sticks with the action. No going off to see unnecessary commentary at Master Roshi's house. No, during the hour wait time, watching Nappa go and fight the military. That's gone. During the Frieza saga, it's for the most part just Goku and Frieza duking it out. You do have one part of the filler in, which is Bulma and Ginyu going at each other, switching bodies. But that's about the only filler part they keep in. For the most part, it's just Goku Frieza, so the whole 5-minute time thing, while it's still ridiculous, because it's still several episodes between the time Frieza tells Goku that and the planet exploding, it's no longer such a ridiculous amount of episode count that it's kind of silly. Anyways, watch Dragon Ball Z Kai. It's a great way to do an anime update, and I kind of hope other anime companies are watching that, especially the studio that created Bleach. If there ever is an anime that needs a redo, it's the Bleach one. This Bleach was also gone as of a few weeks ago too. That's because the anime has ended. The Japanese studio, stopped it because of low ratings. And one of the reasons why Bleach got low ratings was its filler. It had some of the worst filler I've ever seen. You're in the middle of a fight, you're really dedicated to the story, stop for 6 months to a year worth of filler, and most of it was pretty bad. And they would stop right in the middle of these fight scenes or big arcs to go to these filler arcs that were boring and overstayed their welcome. So needless to say, popularity for that show, I guess, crashed in Japan. I'm surprised it was able to stay as popular here until the very end because, the Muramasa arc almost made me stop watching it. It was boring to begin with, and then, even after the main filler arc had completed and it was time to get back to the show, they decided, because they liked the idea, I guess, to stay several more episodes in this arc, and it was just boring me to tears. It was, I think it lasted about a whole year between when that arc started and when it finally finished and we got to the main story. If not a full year, it was pretty darn close. So it doesn't surprise me to see Bleach ending. You can still pick up the manga though. Viz is still dubbing the manga. It's still being released in Japan. There's still one last arc, and I do hope this arc of Bleach gets animated as well, because there's some pretty interesting stuff that happens. You learn more about Ichigo's mother. You'll learn more about the old man, Zangetsu. He's not quite who you think he is, and all this other stuff that happens in the manga in this final arc. So I do hope we see some anime interpretation, a Bleach the final act, and then maybe a Bleach Kai to really get the anime back down to the manga where it should be. But anyways, yeah, that's my rant. Like I said, I like the dubs better than the subs most of the time. Dubbing nowadays is done, with the intent to localize, to try to get it as close as possible to the intent, but to make Americans understand it. It is no longer trying to trash the show or to make it an American show. So most of the times when I see these weeboos cry about it, I turn them off as idiots or people who don't quite understand that they're actually hurting the industry that they love. Dragon Ball Z Kai is definitely worth watching. They do it right in the dub, and if you're into the subs, it's worth picking up the DVD for, because the sub track actually sounds better on that one because they redid the sub in Japan. And I like to see other shows do it like that too. Other shows just kind of take their old footage and just remaster them and just recut them, because there's plenty of anime that kind of suffer from too much filler. And like I said, one of the biggest victims of that is unfortunately Bleach. And it's sad to see that show go before its time. But I would rather see it go than suffer another filler arc. If you have an opinion on what you like, sub versus dub, feel free to tell me. Also, give me your opinion on what you think of Dragon Ball Z Kai. Is Adult Swim Toonami your first experience seeing this, or have you had other experience seeing this? And if you want to talk about the end of Bleach, feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you for your time.